guys, welcome back to the channel, man. Today we're gonna be picking back up on the Blazer. And yeah, I want to pick up on the fuel system on the Blazer, because if we get the fuel system done, then we can actually hear this thing run. Our fuel line will come off of the fuel cell and it'll go in and then out. And I figured I'd probably just go ahead and run it back in behind the cell, go over there through the frame and everything the same as we were before. Then the routing right there be in the same place. But before we get up in there and try to mount holes or anything, I'm gonna go ahead and get this fuel cell out of my way. But before I do that, I got other things I still need to do before we take it out, like this guy right here. So in another video, we went and picked up this piece of aluminum that I need to weld into that fuel cell. This hose right here is going to slide over it, and that is going to connect to my fill so that we will be capable of filling the fuel cell right here through the fuel door like we did the stock gas tank. Basically what I need to weld onto that fuel cell is this guy right here, something like this, which the stock fuel cell has, or fuel tank, and I need to add that to the fuel cell. So I'm gonna try to get up in there and somewhat mark where it is that we're gonna need that to be before I pull it down, because I need to drill a hole and we'll cut a hole and get that ready to be welded on. Alright, so this is my mark right here where this thing needs to be centered pretty much, and I want it to come up a little bit into this bend, and it's not going to be straight. It's got to be at a little bit of an angle like so. I'm going to make a template of the end of this pipe so we can get it laid on there and I know where to cut. Try and do this while it's fresh on my mind. So I found a hole saw that actually fits on this pipe perfect. Like, they are dead on. So I'm going to try to use it on here to somewhat mark the center. I should have folded the tape before I put it on there, but it is what it is. Alright, center is somewhere inside of that. Alright, before we go drilling on this thing, the inside of this tank, I don't know if you guys can see in there. We grab our flashlight. So the inside of this tank does have some foam in there, so I want to try to get that out before we go drilling and cutting holes, because obviously we're going to get some shavings and stuff inside of there that I want to get out, and I don't want it to be stuck inside of that foam. Oh yeah. Alright, I got this thing all prepped and ready to be welded. Braven's going to take this with him to work tomorrow. I have the guy over at Hughes welded up for me. Huge shout out to him. I most certainly appreciate that he helps us with little things like this whenever we need it. Come out of there, buddy. So I took the top cap off. I'm going to leave that off. I also took the fuel sending unit out of there so that this thing is basically bare. After it gets welded and I get it back home, then I could vacuum it out, make sure we get all the shavings and stuff out of the inside of it. All right, so I got my bracket back in here just to get a rough idea of where, you know, my fuel cell is at. Actually a pretty damn exact idea. Yeah, my feeds come out right here, and I'm trying to figure out placement for the fuel pump itself. because I was going to mount it up there on the frame, but the problem, like just as I expected, whenever I was mounting the fuel pump on khaki, those Bosch 44 pumps, the external pumps, they don't like to suck fuel, you know, they don't suck fuel very well. They push fuel. So if you mount the fuel pump higher than the tank, then it doesn't get that gravity effect feeding fuel to the fuel pump. So that's going to be an issue if I mount it up that high. I'm sure I probably wouldn't realize an issue right away, but eventually it would probably burn the pump up because it's constantly having to try to suck fuel to it and then send it, you know. It would be able to send fuel a lot faster than it's capable of sucking, you know. So I need to figure out a way to get that fuel pump pretty much level with where the feed is at on the tank. So for the most part, I'm gonna have to mount it pretty low. So yeah, I've been just kind of staring at it and trying to brainstorm exactly what to do. So right now I'm kind of leaning towards maybe just using a piece of steel to bolt this to, and just a flat piece of steel that'll run up long enough that I can bolt up here, so then the fuel pump is actually down low enough that the fuel will gravity feed the pump rather than it having to suck the fuel. I wanted to also get as much airflow as possible, so if it's down here, it's going to get quite a bit of airflow, probably a little more than what it would get all hidden up there. So anyhow, I'm going to look and see what kind of steel I've got laying around, see if we can't figure out a placement. With it back here, I also feel like I can get away with mounting it on the driver's side, so maybe I should go passenger side just to kind of offset the weight of the driver, you know. Also, I try to keep in mind like weight balances and stuff. Like obviously this Blazer is nowhere near like balanced, weight balance or anything like that, but you know, if I'm the only one in it, and let's say we're drag racing, obviously I'm on the driver's side. That's why I have my battery on the passenger side. Maybe I ought to mount this fuel pump on the passenger side, because if I'm being honest with you, this thing is pretty damn heavy. It's at least 10 pounds, I'd say. What do you think this thing's? No, this thing's not 10 pounds. I should weigh it. Baby, get the scale!
Oh my God. It says 2.5.
Alright. Weighing myself. Yeah, I think it is too light for it to pick it up. 209. Hurry up, reset, dummy. Alright, now weighing myself with the pump. Oh, shit. So 9, 10, 5, yeah.
6.4 pounds.
6.4 pounds?
Dang, there's no way.
Dang, buddy, that thing is heavy. Yeah, this thing is almost 6.5. Oh, it is 6.5. 6.4.
That's crazy.
So I mean, that with my battery, I mean, how much do you think my battery weighs?
Probably 15.
The battery's a lot heavier than that.
30?
So yeah, the battery's probably like 30, 40 pounds maybe. And then plus that, I feel like all those things being on the passenger side helps kind of counterweight a driver being in the driver's seat. Moving on. Found me a piece of steel. Yeah, see, something like that. Drill some holes, through bolt that sumbitch. I could even get fancy, maybe weld the nuts on the other side, you know, and then figure out how much of this we need, and then drill some holes, and this can bolt to the frame up there. So hell yeah, let me do some more figuring, and I'll pick the camera up whenever I get something figured. All right, so basically something like that. Then I'll be able to mount the pump here, and then my feed for the pump will be straight in line with the feed on the tank. I need to cut a lot of this steel off of here. But yeah, then I'll be able to bolt this directly to the plate there, and then bolt the plate directly up here to the frame, and we'll be golden, baby. Golden. And if I feel kind of weird about it, I could even weld it right there if I wanted to, but I doubt it's gonna need it. Freaking 1/4 inch. Oh yeah. All right, got this thing mounted onto the bracket. These are just temporary bolts. I need to go get much stronger hardware for this. And nylon locking nuts, and I'll put washers on there and everything as well. But for mock-up purposes, anyhow, what I'm gonna do now is actually mock the fuel cell back up inside of there, because I've already made, I didn't make a mistake that caused me to have to redo anything, but I already mistakenly was thinking that these outputs right here that's got to run to the fuel pump, I was thinking that they were in line with this little cutout right here, which they're actually not, because this is just cut out for the sump. The fuel lines are actually down here below the bolting point. So that is about that much lower that I need to actually mount the fuel pump itself for it to be in line with the feed. So I'm gonna go ahead and mock the fuel cell up in here, like I said, just to make sure that I don't make any more stupid mistakes. All right, got everything in here. So you see what I was talking about? The feed fittings right here are actually a lot lower than this. They sit below the mounting bracket. So I need my fuel pump to be a lot lower so that those are in line with one another. And actually, the way that I have it mocked up here, the fuel pump is ever so slightly lower. So the only thing that I would see a potential problem with is if we were to actually make enough power to put the bumper on the ground, you know, to pop a wheelie, then I might actually drag some of this stuff. But I don't think, you know what, we might get there. If that was to ever happen, obviously we need to, we'd have to move some things around. But anyhow, I really like the way this is set up now. I'm gonna mark a line on this bracket so I know where to put it back. I need to take all this stuff back out and then take the pump off of this bracket, and then I'm just gonna clamp this back up here, lining that up right there. And then yeah, I just gotta drill a couple of holes straight through the frame. I'm gonna run 3/4 inch bolts back here, or sorry, 1/2 inch bolts back here. 3/4 inch hole, I believe. No, 1/2 inch hole, whatever the fuck. I guess I should mark a line right here so I know exactly where it goes. Yeah, so now what I'm curious about, I need to look up and see if I'm able to clock the fuel pump with that mounting bracket that is on it. I would assume I should be able to clock it in different positions with that mounting bracket, because I think it would be better, because this is where it goes in. There's a little sticker that you can't see right now, but the fuel goes in here and out here. You can see that out sticker. So I think it would be better to clock this to where the in was pointing straight back and the out was pointing straight forward. So then basically I would have to put a 90 here and then a 90 here and just have a line running straight over. And then this side I'd be able to just run a straight going forward rather than doing a 90. And also with a 90 right here, like, I don't think that it would ever come in contact with this, but I think it would be better if the line was just going straight forward rather than going even closer to where the leaf spring's at. But yeah, dude, that's pretty much it. Other than once we get everything finalized, I'm gonna make this bracket look a lot nicer. I need to like round the edges and whatnot. Maybe even, I'm thinking about maybe putting holes in it so that air is able to pass through it. So as it hits the fuel pump and goes around it, it'll be able to pass through it. And no, I'm not thinking about like drag or resistance. What I'm thinking is so that air doesn't trap right there, so that air is able to flow past that fuel pump to help keep it cool. And I also need to turn the bolts facing the other direction so that that's not pointing out the back of the truck. That looks ugly. That's pretty good, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and tear all this apart and then get this back up here, and I need to drill those holes. What's up, buddy? What's up? Are you ready to go in the house? Are you like, hey man, it is dinner time. We've been out here all freaking day. Let's go in the house, huh? All right, dude, come on, get off the lap. Get off the lap. It's not lap time. All right, guys, there it is, man. It actually came out a lot better than what I was expecting. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that this bracket was gonna look kind of silly right there, but I'll wait for you. But yeah, cutting the holes in it and rounding the corners and everything, I think just gave it that little bit more of a professional look, so it doesn't look so tacky, you know what I mean? We still got to run the wiring and all that, but as you guys know, this is all mock-up. I'm gonna pull the fuel cell back out because this is gonna be going with Braven tomorrow to go and get welded up. Once that gets done, then I can get it basically in here for the final time. I wanted to ask you guys a quick question. If you want to throw it in the comments down below for me. That foam that I took out of the inside, should I leave that out or should I put that back in? Because I've always heard of people having issues with the foam inside of their fuel cells, but at the same time, I guess you're also supposed to change it out every once in a while. I don't know if I should leave that in there to help prevent fuel slosh or what. Remember, I'm going to be putting this on 91 octane at first, but then we got to drain the whole thing later whenever we get the injectors and stuff and put it on E85, because I guess my stock injectors is not going to be enough for a cam and E85. They're going to max out. But yeah, if you guys can throw that in the comments down below what it is you think. I'm asking for people's opinion from personal experience, you know what I'm saying? I've never had a fuel cell that had the foam in it, but anyhow, dude, this came out really nice. Like I said, I'm really digging it. This is all temporary hardware as well. I got to make it down and get some grade 8 bolts, and for these ones are probably going to be fine, but I would like to put the locking nuts on there. I have locking washers, but I'd like to put those Teflon nuts on there so that I don't have to worry about it vibrating off. Same with these. Hell yeah, dude. And if you look at it, the fuel pump is ever so slightly lower than the feed, so that is going to help with gravity feeding, you know what I mean? So we shouldn't have an issue there. But yeah, I'm just overall stoked at how this is coming out. And we have all this space over here. Now I just have to run all the AN lines. As soon as we get the fuel cell back from getting welded, run the AN lines, bro, and we'll be able to hear the first start. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, please do smash the like button. It helps me out tremendously. Peace, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.